All right, to walk through the answer here, we're going to go through the case where we have three people dividing a cake because it's easiest to draw, but this works out with as many people as you want, and you'll see quickly how it works. So imagine we had the red person, a green person, and a blue person I'll draw, and I'll show them each cutting the cake. The rule here is that someone has to cut the cake, divide a piece that they think is 1/3 or greater, and then everyone after them has a chance to cut a bit off that piece to make it even smaller, or they can skip. And the last person who makes a cut will get that piece of cake. We continue repeating that process until everyone has a fair share. So it really helps to work through an example here. Let's say that red makes the first cut, and they cut off a section that they think represents at least 1/3 of the cake. So they're saying, I would be happy with this section. Then green has the option, well, they want to cut to say it's exactly 1/3. Now green might say that I think this is bigger than 1/3, in which case they'll make a little cut off of it to make it equal to 1/3, or they might say that it's smaller than 1/3, in which case they'll skip. So let's imagine, for the sake of argument, that they think that was a little bigger than 1/3, that red cut too large. They might cut a sliver off, and then they would say, well, I think this section represents 1/3. Now finally, blue has the exact same option, and let's just say, for the sake of argument, they say, oh, well, I think that piece now is at least, is smaller than 1/3. Then they would skip, and the last person who made the cut gets the piece. So in this case, green, having made the last cut here, would get this piece. And so we know that they get a piece that they think represents at least 1/3. So that's a good thing. That's what we want. And in the other cases, red thought that the piece that represented 1/3 was even bigger than this. So the piece that green got, they think is less than 1/3, less than or equal to 1/3. And blue, in this case, thought that that piece, they skipped on it, so they had a chance to cut it. They had a chance to say they thought it was bigger than 1/3. So they also think, sorry, I should draw this in green here. So they also think that this piece is less than or equal to 1/3 that green got. And so green is satisfied, and red and blue both don't think that he got an unfair deal. Next, the same thing repeats itself. So once again, red has a chance to cut, and they might make a cut here saying that this represents 1/3 in their estimation. And blue has a chance either to say, actually, I think that it should be cut smaller to represent 1/3, or skip. So say that they think, actually, this piece was a little too large. Let me cut it smaller so it actually represents 1/3. Now it represents 1/3. Everyone's had a chance to go. And again, the person who made the last cut gets the piece. So blue would get this piece. And because they cut it down to 1/3, we know that they must think that that represents more than 1/3. So now blue is also satisfied with the share that they got. And red, because they had cut a bigger piece originally that blue slivered down, thought that that piece that blue got was less than 1/3. So it stands to reason, if blue thought that two pieces less than 1/3 were cut out, they're going to think that this remaining piece is even bigger than 1/3. And so they will also be happy. And this works with any number of people. So if you don't mind having little slivers of cake, this is a fair way to cut the cake at your party.